Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Shawn's the name, and today I want to talk about some of the most highest paying jobs that nobody seems to know about. We're not talking about doctors, lawyers, strippers, surgeons, pilots. No, we're not talking about those high-end jobs that everyone already knows that they make absolute bank, because those have years and years of schooling, usually 8+ years of schooling or some sort of experience. And, they have usually tons of student loans tied to them. No, we are not talking about jobs like that today. Today we're talking about jobs where you don't need any real prereqs or any real schooling to get. You can start in them and start making money right away. In fact, a lot of these jobs actually pay more than the previous jobs I just mentioned. So if you're looking for a career change, let's do this. Okay, so right before we actually jump right into this list, please hit the like button on this video because I spend way too damn long on these videos. But okay, since I'm a mortgage broker, I see tons of applications, thousands of applications of what people currently do and how much money they currently make. So I'm not just telling you this list because this is what other people have said. No, I'm literally seeing and talking to these people every single day of my life. And because of this, I pretty much have a really good gauge of what someone makes based on the role they're in or what they do, just because of how many applications I've seen. So now that you know a little bit about me and how I know this information, that's a good lead-in into the first one that I want to actually talk about. A mortgage loan officer, which is essentially what I am, makes great money. Actually, let me back up. Mortgage loan officers have the ability to make really good money. The typical loan officer is going to make anywhere from $75,000 to $200,000 per year. And these roles are heavily, if not completely, commission-based, so the job salary is going to vary tremendously based on how motivated and how good you actually are at your job, because that pay rate sounds pretty awesome, right? $75,000 to $200,000 is more than most people make in the United States. But it gets even better than that with the fact that you have the ability to make so much more money. I know plenty of people in the same role as me making upwards of $750,000 a year, and I even know a couple people across the country who are at the level of over $1 million a year. So it sounds pretty mind-boggling to think you can make that much money in a single calendar year without having all this crazy schooling behind you, but it is doable. You just need to get licensed and, build up a little bit of a book. I will say it does get easier the longer you're in the role. It's a pretty baller role to kick this video off because of how much money you can actually make. And I'm gonna actually post a video soon on how loan officers actually specifically get paid, so you have a better understanding of it. It's a good reason for you to hit the subscribe button, because not only am I going to talk about how loan officers actually get paid, but I'm going to be talking about, I guess, specifically how I get paid and how the whole industry kind of works. So it's going to be really interesting, really cool. Hit the subscribe button. And I guess if I've already made the video by the time you're watching this video, I'll leave a link down below. But then the next one on this list, and I'm gonna knock it out real quick because of how popular it is, but it's being a realtor. It's very similar, kind of in the mortgage business. You're doing something similar in real estate, but you don't need a college degree for it. You just need to pass your test, get your licensing. Now, I will say 90% of realtors do not make very much money. They are probably making less than $50,000 a year. That's 90% of realtors, maybe $50,000 to $60,000 a year. But the other 10% of realtors can make really good money. I would say the ones who are doing it full-time, hardcore, they're usually making, depending on the market they're in, they're usually making anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 a year. And I limit that at $250,000, but I work with and know plenty of agents who are making close to $500,000 a year. And again, there is no limit. You can build out a team, you can build out a company, you can really take it pretty big. And a lot of people know about realtors, so I don't want to spend too much time on that, which brings us to the third one on our list. And that is an insurance agent. Most people have no idea that insurance agents actually make a crud ton of money. Now, I will say, insurance agents are going to have a massive grind phase to get to really good money. For example, the first, 3 years, maybe even 3 to 5 years, you're probably only going to be making anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 in those kind of startup years as you're building up your book of business. But once you start getting into that 5 to 7 year mark or even pushing the 10-year mark, the earnings potential is pretty stupid. I've seen insurance guys very easily getting anywhere from $180,000 to $400,000 per year. And the craziest thing about majority of that is once you've grinded your face off for all of these years, a lot of that income that you're getting is basically passive, and it's just reoccurring as you're paying, as these renewals are coming in for insurance. So you're making tons of money the longer you're in the game, just offer referrals and kind of passive. So I love that part about the industry, and you can make some really good money as an insurance agent. Next up though is being a recruiter or a headhunter. Now, for those of you who don't actually know, I was actually a recruiter right as I got out of college I think I was there for like 2 or 3 months. So I know a lot about that industry just from being in it and then also doing tons of research on it prior and post. But recruiters can make really good money. Now, it ultimately depends on what type of recruiter you are and what kind of setup you're in. If you're at a big company, you're probably not gonna make as much money starting out. Maybe $200,000, $250,000. It really just depends on your specific scenario. Now, next up on my list is new-ish, but definitely becoming more normal. And it's actually how I got my initial income boost, but it's being an influencer, which I hate the term influencer, but it's someone creating content for others who find value in it. Now, the platforms I'm gonna actually include in the kind of influencer umbrella is gonna be YouTube, which is pretty normal, Instagram, which I feel like is fading out a little bit in terms of influencers, and then you got TikTok, and then this is the one where a lot of people are probably gonna hate me for it, but I'm going to throw OnlyFans in there, not because of, maybe the bad content that's all on there, because it's definitely got a niche that it crushes, but there actually are a lot of people on OnlyFans who are doing great things like fitness and health and things like that are giving guides, doing trainings, things like that. So totally good there. And I'm also gonna throw in under this influencer bucket is online courses. There's a lot of people that you don't know about who might not have big social media presences, but they have massive student bases selling courses online. And so I'm gonna kind of do everything in the influencer bucket, just being well known enough to where either a lot of people follow you and you make some money off ad revenue, brand deals, things like that, or you're selling courses that a lot of people are trusting you for the advice you're doing. So that is definitely a job that a lot of people don't think about, but is very common and becoming very popular, as it was the #1 job that kids in elementary school want to be. So it is a thing. I did want to conclude it on this list, and again, it's kind of, I hold it dear to me because that's how I kind of got my big start with everything. But next up is one that I'm gonna actually pull out of Chandler David Smith's book. He pumps this so hard, and this is how he got his big start. And it's basically selling pesticide. It's doing pesticide sales. Now, this is going to be door to door. The amount that you make is going to vary based on how much you do, also based on kind of the company that you're working with. Some will do it year round, some will do it only during the summer. But when you're starting out, you can make anywhere from, maybe $40,000 to $50,000 a year, which is great because you can literally start and, literally start selling. I mean, all they literally care about is like, hey, Shawn, do you want to sell pesticide? And you're like, yeah, I do. They're like, okay, we got to make sure you fit the requirement. Yep, you got a pulse. All right, you're good. Go start selling pesticides. So it's definitely a very easy role to get into and start making money right away, and also start making really good money right away. But the big money making potential out of pesticide sales comes in your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th year. As you continue to grind through it and build up a team underneath you, that's really where the big money is in, because you can only sell so much pesticide and go to so many doors throughout a year or a summer or whatever. But if you've got a team of 20, 30, 40 people who are selling underneath you, that's where the big money can be made. Some of those bigger producers who have the big teams. I did actually a loan for a guy one time who was making like 500 grand a year. I was very impressed by that. I think most of them are gonna be capping out at about 250 to 350 range. And again, that's with a large team underneath them and the constant drive to go door to door. Hear tons of people tell you no. You gotta have the motivation, you gotta have the mindset for it, but you can make really great money right away. And then to piggyback off the pesticide sales, I wanna talk about solar sales real quick, because they're basically like identical. The only thing that's actually changing is what you're selling. The idea of how much money you're making, the idea of how you build out your earnings is all the same. You're still going door to door. Your first year, you might not make that much money. Also depends on your area, but you might not make that much money. Your 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, as you start building a team underneath you, you start working your way up to regional sales manager. That's where you start making the big buck. And I will say with those 2 jobs, you, again, have to constantly be grinding and pushing to make your money. It's not roles where you can build up a big clientele list and just let your referral base work for you. It can a little bit, but for the most part, you are constantly hitting the streets and getting sales in those roles versus some of the other roles we talked about in this video. You know, your hardest years are your first couple, and then it gets very easy as your income grows exponentially. Which is a great segue into our next job title, which is a financial advisor. And don't think that you need some crazy high-end finance degree to be a financial advisor. The sad truth of a lot of it is most financial advisors don't have the best educational background. They're just certified. They work for a bigger company like Edward Jones, and Edward Jones handles all of the financial investments and strategies and things like that. The financial advisor is literally just there to go out and get business, to go out and get and convince people to build their portfolios with them or to move a portfolio with whichever company they're working for. And the financial advisors will make a small percentage based on how much business they bring in. So again, it's one of those roles where when you start out, you might not make that much, maybe 40, maybe 60, maybe even 70. But over time, let's talk 5 years down, 7 years down, and you've got a book of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million in assets that you're managing and investing, aka the company is, you start making phenomenal money. Some financial advisors will make, $400,000, $500,000 a year. I did a loan for a guy one time who was making like 1.2 million and he like didn't do anything. He's like, yeah, dude, like I work maybe 10, 15 hours a week. He does like nothing, but that's not to say he absolutely grinded his face off for probably like 15 to 20 years to get to that point, but now he makes absolute bank because of how much work he spent in the prior years. And jobs like that are my favorite. If you're willing to grind early on, you can reap the benefits later on. I'm so thirsty. I get so hyped up about this topic on like choosing a good career path that can make you some really good money because it is literally life-changing. Okay, next up on my list, I'm guaranteed to blow your mind on this one, but travel agents make bank. Yes, the person who books flights and tells you where some good vacation destinations are and, excursions and plans out a whole vacation. Yes, travel agents make bank. Okay, story time, all right? I did a loan for this gal who was literally making $270,000 a year being a travel agent, and it blew my mind so much that I was like, I need to talk with you and learn about this industry because I had no idea. I didn't even know travel agents were still like around, but I guess they are, and they still make absolute bank. And I was talking to her and I'm like, how does this work? And are you like the anomaly or do like everyone makes this much? She goes, no, when you start out being a travel agent, you're learning, you're building up kind of which destinations, which, cruises, which kind of, I guess, vacation packages that you're most familiar with, your clientele might be most familiar with. She goes, so your first year, you're doing a lot of learning. Probably gonna make $40,000 to $60,000 a year. She also said it also depends on the company you're at. If you're at a big kind of, I guess like newer company, you're probably not gonna make that much money. But if you're at kind of an older school travel agent company and you can build up a good book, you can. She goes, now the travel agents who've been in business for a really long time, they make roughly $300,000 to $320,000 a year. She goes, but it's becoming harder and harder to get to that point. Whereas most travel agents are gonna be making about $100,000, $110,000 a year. But it kind of just depends on how hard you're willing to work and how much you want to work. But in my mind, if you could even make $100,000 a year being a travel agent, that's awesome. I mean, you're literally making great money to recommend and plan vacations. Then by the time you go to take a vacation, you already know all the good spots. You have the money to take a pretty sweet vacation and you're good to go. I think that's a pretty sweet life for not needing any type of prereqs. But all right, then the last one on my list, which you probably figured was coming, but it's just being an entrepreneur. I really wanted to include this in this video because a lot of people don't think about the potential that's out there in doing something that they love to make really good money off it. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're an AC guy, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a flooring guy, a carpenter, I don't know, you're a dog walker. It literally does not matter. If you are running your own business and enjoying what you're doing and able to make some really good money off it, then I say definitely do it. You're gonna have way more fun, you're gonna set your own schedule, and your income potential is unreal. I've done some crazy loans for people who do some of the craziest things out there, and they make phenomenal money. So I had to include it on this list because if you enjoy doing something, maybe think about starting your own business. Maybe if it's just a side hustle to start and then turns into something a little more long-term, I think that's the best thing you can do. Now, another thing I want to add real quick is that you do notice that a lot of the roles I mentioned in this video do require some sort of sales, right? They are a lot commission-based or how hard you're willing to work, and that's the bottom line. If you want to make phenomenal money without having some crazy long, schooling or crazy long training, you need to understand that you better be able to sell and you better be able to motivate yourself, because that's how companies make money. They make money off of you being able to think outside the box, be a top performer, and be a baller, right? They're not gonna pay you $300,000 a year to sit behind a desk and literally watch cat videos all day. No, they wanna see you perform and make money for the company, and if you're willing to bust your balls and do that, then you're gonna be rewarded heavily financially. So I will say, if you're not into sales, don't get discouraged by a lot of the roles on this list. I personally think I'm horrible at sales. I don't consider myself a salesman at all. I consider myself more of an educator, because when you get into kind of the mortgage business or the real estate business, you're taught to go out and sell. But I'm not a very good salesman. So what I did was instead I taught people about the process. I taught people how a mortgage worked, how the loan process is structured, how different loan programs are, right? I'm just teaching people, and in turn, I'm getting a lot of business out of that, because a lot of people are learning, wanting to work with me, wanting to do their mortgage through me. And that's ultimately the difference with a lot of these roles, is if you get into them and do the normal thing that everyone else is doing, you're not gonna be a top performer. But if you kind of twist the script a little bit and you do something a little bit different, then you will be a top performer and you will be making some really good money. Regardless, a lot of these roles have tons of potential, and I definitely think if you're looking for a career change, to give them some thought. But this video is literally just proof that you do not need lots of schooling to make really good money. Again, a lot of the roles I mentioned on this list, you can actually make more than the roles that do require lots of schooling. So you just need some hustle and some drive, and go out there and get it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button. Please subscribe for more content like this. Like I said, I've got some really good videos planned I can't wait to share with you. And also comment down below which position you find the most interesting, or maybe one that kind of blew your mind a little bit. It's probably gonna be the travel agent one for most people. But yeah, drop me a comment down below. Always love hearing your feedback. Otherwise, connect with me on social media. Links down below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.